Hey guys, welcome to our channel Coders Arcade. This is Ashank David. Welcome back to today's live session, and this is Ashank David, and we are gonna talk about DSA today, and we are gonna continue from where we left last time in the last session. Just a minute, guys. थोड़ी देर बाद ये बटन दबाना है LV. Okay, yeah, sorry for the disturbance, guys. Today actually I am on my own. I don't have my team today, so that's why. Anyways, but let's continue. I am only monitoring. Yeah, all right. Okay, so guys, welcome back to our live stream. This is Ashank David, and let's start with our live session today. I am going to continue from where we left last time, and we will be talking about each and everything. There are some few concepts which are remaining from the previous live, so I would like to finish up those as well today, like for example call by value and call by reference. And hence you have already seen our thumbnail topics. We are going to talk about arrays and array pointers, so we will talk about that also. So stay tuned for that and watch this live till the end of the session. This is Ashank David. Let us start this live stream, guys. And one more thing before I go ahead into the topic, please do like, share and subscribe to our stream, and don't forget to press the bell icon also so that you won't miss any future updates. Well, let's go ahead into this stream. Okay, all right. So in the last live session, we have understood that we were doing data structures, and in that data structures part we have not actually started with the whole data structure thingy, but in today's class we will just finish up the prerequisites of the data structures in this case, so you will be able to understand that much better. Okay, so now the very first thing that we are gonna talk about is gonna be our the things which are left from the previous live session, guys. And if I remember properly, in our previous live session, which was happened on Saturday, we have understood about storage classes. We have already finished about storage classes, I guess, I believe so. I hope so that this is done. Next up, what we are gonna do actually here today in today's live session is gonna be, this is over. Okay, this is over. What we are gonna do is gonna be a little bit of functions concept, little bit of, we are gonna talk about call by value and call by reference. Okay, we're going to talk about this. We are going to talk about arrays today. In arrays we will be talking about one dimensional, I'm going to talk about two dimensional, and I'm going to talk about the pointers, array pointers. Okay, so let us continue. So now the very first thing, these two things let's talk about, call by value and call by reference. So what exactly is this call by value and call by reference? Let us understand. We'll do one practice. Okay, you see, how do you use functions? When we talk about using the functions, how do we use functions? Well, functions are written like this. You first write its data type, not data type, return type. First you start by writing the return type, then you write the name of the function. So I said function. let's say this function is taking up some two parameters, int a and int b. Okay, just imagine. And I said that inside the body of this function, something is happening. We don't care. From the main function now, let's say I have written my main function, and from my main function I am calling this function, say function. Now I have passed something, let's say I have some variables, let's say int x comma y. Alright, I have int x comma y. I said I'm going to call this function and pass these values. I said function. I called that function and I want to pass this x value to this a and this y value to this b, for example. And if I want to do this, I would generally, what is my practice? Generally, what is our practice? We would just write it like this, x comma y. Yes. Generally, what do we write? Generally, we write it like this, function x comma y. We will just call the function and we will just pass the values. Guys, this is what we call as call by value. I hope so that this is very much clear. You see that I am passing the values, say x comma y, correct? I am passing the values x comma y. But what happens when you do this? What happens when you do this? The answer is straightforward, simple. I would write it here. In this case, the changes made by the function would not be reflected back to the main. This is the case. This is the thing. What I mean to say is that whatever value I have passed here, whatever, that value, the values will go up there. I mean to say is that in this case, this x will go to this a and this y will go to this, x will go to this a and y will go to this b. But the changes that happened here, anything which is made, any change will not be reflected back to your main function. This is the point to note here. Okay. What I mean to say is, let us write a program and understand this very well. Okay, let us write a program and understand this properly. Now I'm gonna do one thing. I'm gonna go back here, and in this I will be writing, hash include iostream, and then I'm gonna say using name space std. Okay, and here after this I'm gonna say int main, and in this int main, let us say I have taken a function. Let's take an example of void swap function. Okay, this function what is the use of this function? Let me just explain you. I'm actually trying to explain you call by value and call by reference. Okay, very first thing that I'm gonna do here is gonna be call by value. Let me explain you how it works. So here in this case, what's happening is that I have a function whose job is to, of course, as the name suggests, swap. Let's say in my main function I have two values, int a equals to 10 and I said int b equals to 20 in this case. Alright, let's say I have these two variables. Now in these two variables, right now if I print cout and I say before swap, I am gonna print the values of a and I'm gonna print the value of b with some space. Okay, before swap a value and b value is printed, so 10 comma 20 is printed. Okay, let me just write it properly. A equals to, and here I will say comma b equals to, and at last I'm going to say here enter. Alright, like this we will do. So what happens is that when I run this code, you see what happens. Right now it is printing before swap a value is 10 and b is 20. I hope so that this much is clear to everyone. Alright. Dhananjay asked one doubt, is that true we can make a complete GUI application with only using C++? I saw YouTube video but not sure. Yes, you can do. See, GUI application not only is built just by Java. You might think that Java swings or Java applets you will be able to use it, but actually in any language, in Python also you have different modules. In C++ also you can build it. In C, in fact in C also you can do it. So not only it is just limited to Java or only one language, but it is available in many different languages. Understood? So yes, GUI can be GUI desktop application. Yes, it can be made. Understood? Of course. Next, we'll continue. So where we were on this. So right now in our call by value, call by reference thing, I'm talking what I'm trying to say is now here is that in my right now in my program, I had A and I had B. A was 10 and B was 20, and what I am doing is I am just printing it that before swapping A is equals to 10 and B is equals to 20. Okay, but I want to now swap these two values. That means now A should contain 20 and B should contain 10. But this should happen, my question to you is that this should happen using this function swap. That means this function would take two parameters A comma B, and these two parameters is the place where I would pass the value of A and B, that is 10 and 20. Well, I hope so that this is very much clear. Okay. Apart from this, yeah, this much. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say here I'm going to call this function, and if I want to call this function, how do I call? I'll just say swap and I will say A comma B. General practice, this is what we actually do, correct? And then what I'll do is I'll print the same exact thing which I tried to print, but in this case I'll make it after swap. You got my point? What I did? What I did is I made A equals to 10, B equals to 20. I said before swap the value of A and B, and then I called that function and I again printed that with the after swap thing. But I have not written the logic yet, so swap will actually not happen. So if I run this code right now, you can see that swap is not going to happen and A still remains 10 and B remains 20 in this case. Okay, let us write the logic also here. Okay, let us write the logic. To write the logic, what I am going to do is, I am going to say here, if we remember the usage of temp variable, the third variable, then we will be able to do it easily using the third variable. How did we do it? We take a third variable int temp equals to, I said A will go into this temp and then I will say A equals to B. That means B value you come to A value went to temp, the third empty variable, the extra empty variable, and then B value came to A, overwriting the value of A, and then I said that B you take the value from temp and hence the value is swapped. Okay, like this I am doing, So now can you tell me what will be the output in this case? It's very simple. A equals to 10, B equals to 20. Before swap it is of course A is 10 and 20. Then I called that function. So now the values 10 and 20, these two I passed here. See, this is the function call and this is the function, and here A and B I am writing here. These A and B are passing the values to these two parameters. Yes, of course, basics of functions, right? Now those two values came here, but after that they got swapped, right? Am I correct? They got swapped, but now I said that I am printing A equals to whatever and B equals to whatever. Do you think that it will work? Our regular instinct or basic instinct says yes, it will work, but our output will say no, it will not work. This is the thing, guys. Here you see that in the after swap the changes does not happen. This is what ultimately I was trying to explain. I am explaining you this, that this is call by value. What I have done is that I have said that this is call by value. Okay, what is this? Call by value. What I am doing? I had these two variables and I am passing those two variables only right here. Calling the function by passing the value. What it becomes? Call by value. What it becomes? Call by value. Okay? But this is not the real logic. Please don't ever say this in front of an interviewer. No, no, no. A big no. You cannot say this reason. Sir, calling the function by passing the value. You cannot. Understood? I told you like this so that you understand well. Okay. But what is the actual reason? Call by value. The changes made by the called function, which is of course this function. Ultimately we are calling this function only. No, from here we are calling this function. The changes made by this function will not be reflected back to the main, because we are just calling that function, passing the value, so values will get trapped there. We are not returning any value. Yes, if we would have returned any value, then the returned value would have come back to the call itself, but it is not getting returned. In this case, the swap will not happen. You see, the changes are made actually. The changes are made by this function, but it is not reflected back in the main function. That is why we say the changes made by that function are not reflected in the main. That means the changes are being made. To confirm this, you can write this particular line over there. How? Bring this line of after swap in the swap function. And now check. Okay, it is working. It is working. Okay, we have some comment. Oh, thank you. I just thought C language or other like C low level hardware manipulation, making modules for the program. No, no, no. We can use it for this also. Kapuge, I am new to this life. Can you explain a bit? Yes. Actually, we are doing DSA. We have not started with the proper DSA concept. From tomorrow's class, of course, we will start. But till now, this is the 4th session, and I was just doing prerequisite for our actual DSA. So, if you want to learn DSA for placements, I am doing that right now, going live and teaching every day on 6 p.m. right now. At the same time, 6 p.m. This is gonna be 1 hour live daily, and I'll be teaching you DSA. So if you are interested in learning DSA, please do come and join my live stream every day, and I'll be explaining you all these things. Well, till now I have just done the prerequisite requirements. Right now I'm doing call by value, call by reference, which is one of the important things which in tomorrow's class or maybe day after tomorrow's class you'll be using. So make sure you do it properly. Okay, I can see all the comments right here in the screen in front of me, so don't worry, I'm able to see all your comments. Okay, yeah, so let us continue. Understood this, guys, that this is what is happening actually. The changes are made by this function but are not reflected back to the main. You can see that this function is working actually. See, it works. Right here it works. I hope so that this is very much clear. Correct. So what we will do, I am going to bring this back. My motto is to do something which will make the changes happen into the main function while I have written this. Understood? Alright. Okay. So how can I do this? You see, guys, I told you that this process is what you call as call by value. Now we will do call by reference. This process is call by value, calling the function by passing the values, right? You can see. So now we are gonna do call by reference. Call by reference means calling the function by passing the reference. What is reference? Reference means address. That means the idea here is rather than passing the value A and B, I am going to pass their addresses, ampersand of A and ampersand of B. And if I do this, the changes made by that functions are now reflected back to the main function, and you can see that even if you write the after swap function in the main, it is still reflects back and it makes the changes happen in the main. You see it for yourself. I said ampersand A and ampersand B in this case, and you see that right now the problem is that it shows us an error. Why it shows us an error? Because you see the accepting parameters are not pointers, and yesterday we have understood in our previous class only that what type of variable holds the address of another variable. Well, this is the address of A, right? This is the address of B, right? And where they are going into these two parameters. Are these two parameters the pointers? No. So we need to make them a pointer. If we don't make them as a pointer, they will not accept it, and this error will still come as it is. So what I am going to do is I am going to make them as pointers. So I am going to add star here also, and I am going to add star here also. And when I do this, what happens is that everywhere wherever I have written or used them inside, I need to make them as star. Correct? And if you have a doubt how did I do this, you can place in VS Code, you can place multiple cursors multiple places by holding Alt in your keyboard, and you can place multiple cursors. So this is a good feature of VS Code that you can use, but anyways, this is interesting, right? Yeah. So in this case, what I have done is that I have made everything as a pointer, and I am using pointer arithmetics. Basically what I am doing is I am swapping the pointers. Okay. So this is what is call by reference, calling the function by passing the reference. So in this case, now if I run this code, you see that the changes made by that function are now reflected back in this function. I hope so that this is very much clear to all of you. This is call by value versus call by reference. That's it. I hope that this is very much clear. The main thing is that we are trying to pass the reference, and here we are making everything as a pointer if we are using it as it is. Understood? Alright, let's move on to another concept, guys. Alright. Alright. So let's come back to the main concept that we are here for. Arrays. In arrays we'll talk about one dimensional, we'll talk about two dimensional, and we'll talk about pointer of array. Let us talk about all of that and understand how it works. So give me a minute. Let me open up my resources. Well, all right. We will try to understand some concepts here, and we will understand how does the array thing works. Okay. So we are talking now about arrays. So what are arrays? If we talk about arrays, see, everyone knows about basics of arrays. Every single one of you knows. If not, then let me tell you that array is a what? It's a collection. I guess so that this is a little bit smaller. Now it will be fine. Array is what? It is a collection. Collection of what? Homogeneous or similar type of data. Array is what? It's a homogeneous collection of data or similar set of data grouped together. Remember, just always remember this, guys. Always remember this. In computer science, everything is related to simple English. What I mean to say is that you take up any concept in computer science which you are interested in. You see, some or the other way that is actually being taken from English language. Talking about arrays, what you have studied about, what is the meaning of array in English? If you go into a dictionary and understand what is array, dictionary will also say that array is a similar set of items. For example, you say you have 10 chalks through which we write on the blackboard. Everyone knows about chalk. We say array of chalks. We say array of pencils. We say array of some pens. Understood? So similar type of data grouped together in one place is what you call as array. Understood my point? And with the help of collection, the very first step to organize our data is arrays. Understood? In the very first class, in the very first session 1 of DSA, we have understood why and what is the importance of DSA is. There we have understood that the major thing that we are doing with DSA is file organization or data organization. If we are doing data organization, then we can do a lot of things in our place and very much efficiently. How do we achieve that? To achieve it, we use a collection or some place where we can store the data, and that is what array is used for. Why we say array is a similar set of data, and why only this type of collection is available to us? Because ultimately C++ is what? It is a statically typed language. Statically typed. It is not dynamically typed as how Python is. Okay. So what happens is that whatever you write here needs you to write data types and return types. You take an example of variable only. If I want to create a variable, let's say I want to create a variable A, then I have to first write its data type, int A, correct? But in Python, if you want to make the same variable, you don't write this. You just say A equals to 10, something, whatever you like to create in this case. Well, I hope so that this is very much clear, because Python is what? It is dynamically typed. Okay, Python is what? Dynamically typed. But here C++ or C programming language is a statically typed language. And when we are talking about statically typed language, it is required for us to write its data types or return types. Very similar to that, because array is what? It's a collection of homogeneous set of data. We also have to write the data type, and then we have to write the name of our array. So I said int type of ARR, and then we have to give the size. Whatever is the size, you can mention it according to whatever you know. Whatever size you want to create, how big of an array you want to create, you can create like that. But there should be a data type, which ensures that all the things kept inside this array are similar or homogeneous or similar type, which maintains the property of an array. I hope so that this is very much clear. Okay. Now array is what? It's a one single large block of memory. Array is what? It is one single large block of memory. So I said this is one single large block of memory, and we have partitioned it into multiple sections, which allows us to store our data into multiple places. Are you getting my point? So in this case, what happens is that what is this? This is one single large block of memory. One single large block of memory. We have partitioned it. You see, we have partitioned it, and because of this reason, the size of the array is fixed. What happens? The size is fixed. This is an issue with an array, but we will resolve this issue with the help of a data structure in tomorrow or day after tomorrow's class. That is going to be the data structure which you are going to use very soon. Okay, but array, you understood that the thing is array, a concept, right? Animation and explanation. C++ is static, but how scripting languages like LUA and Python can directly be combined with C++ code? Yes, it can be. Yes, of course it can be. A good example of it is iOS, iPhone operating system. There they use C++ and Swift both together, while Swift is a dynamically typed or interpreted language, but in this case C++ is statically typed or compiled in this case. So yes, animation and explanation, C++ is static, but yes, it can be used with any type of a scripting language like LUA and Python. LUA is a very popular language used for gaming operations. Okay, and Python also it's a scripting language. It's interpreted, it's a scripting, and yes, it can be combined with C++ code. I mean to say, in a bigger project together. Let's say you are making a software, you are building a software, or you are making a game. In those kind of scenarios, yes, you can mix the functionalities of C++ and Python together. Okay. All right. Let's continue on to our main concept. Let's come back to our main concept today, and that is array. So here array is what? It's a one single large block of memory, and which is partitioned into multiple places. So that is the reason why the size is always fixed in this case. And when the size is always fixed, you have limited number of things to do. and that is what brings us to learn about arrays a little bit more, and then once we finish off this arrays, we will be understanding about a different kind of data structure which is even better than arrays. But remember guys, arrays I have put it into the prerequisite of this DSA course because everything, most of the things can be easily done using arrays. An array lays the foundation of the organization, data organization part. Alright? Yes. Thank you so much. Animation and explanation. My pleasure. Let's continue. Okay. So, in this case, this is how your array looks like. But in code, how to represent it? I would say write the data type. Data type written. Then what do? You write the name of the array. I said ARR is the name for the array which I am creating. Okay, and now I am saying that equals one thing guys, before you go say equals, you have to give a square bracket and mention the size. Whatever you write inside this square bracket will determine the size of that particular array. If you give only you say one number, then what happens is that this makes it a single dimension array, or in short form you can say 1D array. Understood? So, this is your single dimensional array or 1D array. You can say equals to, and you can say a bunch of numbers here, and those numbers will be not more than 10. So, I can say 1, 2, 3, and so on till 10, because I started from 1. If I would have started from 0, I would have gone till 9, not more than that. But I hope so you got my point, what I am trying to say. This is your single dimensional array. If you want to access anything from this array, what you will say? You will say ARR, the name of the array, and in the brackets you give the index value. I said 1, ARR of 1. And when I say something like this, in an executable statement like this, cout, then what happens is that it prints you that particular value. Say for example, I said cout of ARR of 1. ARR of 1 I said. This represents the index 1. And what is stored on index 1? The first value, index starts from 0, and the first index is going to be the second value inside that. So, in this case, the second value is going to be 2. So, the answer which will be printed is going to be 2. Well, I hope so that this is very much clear. Let us understand this with the help of a code and understand it very well. Okay, I will go back to my code. In this case, I will rub this off. Okay, and let us create a array. To create an array, you say an data type, then you say the array name, and then you give the size of the array, ARR of 10, and then you say equals to, if I want to quickly create an array with some particular type of numbers, I can directly say a flower bracket, and I can say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like this. I have stored all the elements at one place inside this array because the size of the array is 10. So, I cannot hold more than 10 values at one time. Okay. If you don't want to do like this, you just declared an array and you want to manually put the something into some place, then what you can do is, I can say ARR of, let's say on the 0th index, that means on the first index which is empty right now because I have not did any initialization, I can say equals to, let's say 5, and this will allow me to input that 5 as the first element of this array. I hope so that this is very much clear. Understood? And if I want to access that particular element, I would say that cout of ARR of 0, which would print us 5 in this case, because the first element is going to be 5. So, the first element when it is printed, it is 5, as you understood this. This is very basics that I am teaching right now. But remember that this is not asked, this much basics is not asked, I am just started with this. So, we will go ahead. Okay. Now, next thing that we are gonna be doing in this case is two-dimensional array. I will just explain you quick. Okay. By the way, you know how to use for loops, while loops. So, you can easily put a for loop or a while loop if you have 10 elements, 20 elements, how many elements. You can iterate over that particular collection or array, okay, according to the indexes, and then you can print the value one by one. Either you can do that, or you can do an operation altogether like it. So, I would like to give this to you in your homework. Please tell me in the comment section below how will you do that. Write the code for how you use for loop in an array. You already know how do you use for loop. So, this is going to be your homework. That is very basic thing. So, I am going to move on to two-dimensional arrays now. Okay. If you want to create a two-dimensional array, let us say I want to create a two-dimensional array of, let us say 3 by 4 in this case. So, what I did is, I will write one more square brackets, and in that square bracket, I am going to write the size of that particular thing. So, what happens is that the first element what you see here is 3. This 3 is going to be the number of rows, and the next one is going to be 4. 4 is going to be the number of columns. So, I can say there are 3 rows and 4 columns. So, in this we can store 3 by 4 arrays. So, in this case we have created an array of array. So, inside a big outer array we are creating 3 inside arrays, in which the size of those 3 inside arrays will be 4. What I mean to say is this. Well, if I say here, if I say ARR of 3, 4 like this, then what happens is that I am actually telling that there are 3 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Okay, 4 columns like this. So, this is going to be your grid, while a number is going to placed right here, 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 right here. So, you see how many numbers you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. If I zoom in, you will understand it much more better. You see, what I have done is, I have created this grid of 3 by 4. So, this is going to be 3 and this is going to be 4. Okay. While not be able to see it properly though, but you got the point. Understood? All right. So, now let us carry on. All right. So, now let us carry on. Okay. So, in this case, what happens is that we are trying to create a two-dimensional array. Now, speaking of this two-dimensional array, we can do similar kind of operations. If you want, you can access a particular element by just writing the name of the array and then passing the coordinates, and it will allow you to get that particular element inside it. Or if you say equals to 5, then it would allow you to put the element into this into that particular 0 by 0 row and column index. That means right over here, the very first one. Well, I hope so that this is very much clear. Understood this, guys? Understood this really well? Correct? Understood. Right. Next, apart from this, we have understood this. How do you use for loop? you say for one for loop for the rows, this is going to be for the rows, and inside that you will create a nested for loop saying one for the column. In this case, this is how it's going to be looking like. This is also your homework to do and come. Basic thing, two-dimensional arrays, we have already done this before, and basic input output operations. Well, you can do that. Okay. Now I want to explain you the pointer, array pointer. Very much today's class most important concept is gonna be the array pointer. Okay, let's talk about it. This is the main focus of the class, array pointer. You have understood about pointers, you have understood about arrays, mix them, you got array pointers. What do I mean to say is, you see, I have an array, maybe 5 equals to, I have some variables. Let's say the first variable is 1 inside this, the first element is 1. Let us say, I'll write it properly, you will understand it very well. I'll say ARR of 5 equals to, the very first one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And in this case, what I am doing is, I created a pointer, int star PTR equals to ARR. Fact number 1. Fact number 1. The array name itself is a pointer to the first element of the array. Okay, fact number 1. The array name itself is the pointer to the first element inside that own array. That means if the name of the array is ARR and the elements are stored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside it, then the name itself can point towards the first element. So in this case, if I say int star PTR equals to just ARR, it would point towards this element. And if I say cout of star PTR, it would give me, can you guess the answer? 1. Understood? This is the basic one. Okay. If I want to access the second element, I would say I have int second variable, and I would have said equals to star of PTR plus 1. This is going to be the second element. Let us quickly try this. I have created int ARR of 5, where I am storing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I said int star, let's say P equals to, I said ARR, just the ARR. Now if I want to get the first element, so I said int first equals to, I can say star P, that's it. Okay. And if I want to say int second element, I can say star of P plus 1. Star of P plus 1 will represent the second element. Now if I say cout first, and I say like this, and cout second, del like this, then it would print us 1 and 2. 1 and 2. I hope so that this is very much clear. Very much clear. Okay. Now, I have made you understand how this works. So, this is the first thing, that the the array name itself is the pointer to the first element inside its own array. You got it? Alright. Next up, speaking of two-dimensional array, the same thing becomes a little bit confusing in terms of two-dimensional arrays. Okay. Say for example, I said I created an array int arr, and I said this is gonna be 3 by 4. I'm gonna take equals to, I have array of array. So, the first array, then comes the second array, and then comes the third array. There will be 3 arrays inside this array. That is why it is 3 by, now I will write 4 elements inside it. So, I will say in the first array, I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I said if I want to make it look nicer, I can make it look nicer like this. I said 5, 6, 7, 8. And I said 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, like this. So, this is going to be your 3 by 4 multi-dimensional or two-dimensional array, where the rows are 3 and the columns are 4. All right. So, in this case, if I want to do the same exact thing what I have done with the one-dimensional array, in that case, what I can do is, this is a little bit confusing, guys. Okay. So, I said int first equals to, if I want to access the first element, I will write it here. Int first, if I would like to say, then I would say star of star p plus star of star p plus 0. This would be in one thing, okay, and I would say plus 0. Well, what does this means? If I create a pointer first, I need to first create a pointer, no? So, I said int star p, how would I say? You see, it is said like this, int star of p of 4 means we are trying to create this. So, the very first element itself is taken into the consideration in this case. So, if I say here p plus 0, then it would print me this. This is going to be from the p plus 0 means this whole array, plus 0 means this element. Okay. So, in this case, when I run this code, it prints, it does not print anything. Why? Because I have not printed yet. So, I need to print it also, right. So, I will say see out first. Okay, so now if I run it, you see that it prints 1. If I say here int second I would like to print, then I will say star of star p plus I would say 0, because I want to print this element, right, 2. So, still I am in 0 means the first row, and then plus 1 I would say. And if I would have said this, then what happens is that this element is targeted. So, if I am gonna print that, see out second, then it prints the second 2. I hope so that this is very much clear to all of you. Alright guys. So, this is very much clear. This is how you are gonna be doing this. Okay. So guys, finally coming to the conclusion of this, why we need pointer array? In this case, I would just give you 3 points. Okay. For our functional arguments, number 1 point, functional arguments. What does this means? I mean to say it is much more efficient to, let's say you have a function. This function needs to be passed with an array. Rather than manually creating the whole array and passing that whole array, what you can do is you can just pass a pointer of an array, which will allow you to use the whole array later on inside that function easily. This is the major use of pointer array. Okay, array pointer, whatever. Number 2, you have understood this part really well, right? Then the number 2 point says dynamic memory allocation. Later on in this DSA classes, we will be talking about how we will be dynamically allocating the memory into our programs while we are creating with arrays. So we will be doing that in even stack program also. So that can be easily done using with the help of the pointer array in this case. Okay. The third one is gonna be easy memory manipulation. Easy memory manipulation. So when you have a pointer, it becomes very easy for you to manage all the memories, because you see, pointer in itself is a variable which holds the address or the memory address basically. So working with pointers using pointer arithmetics, that we will be talking about very soon in our more upcoming videos and upcoming live sessions, you will understand how easy it is to work with pointers and how easy it makes our lives much more easier. Alright guys, well, I hope so that this is very much clear. Today's major points of considerations are already covered. So I will be ending this live stream, and I hope so that this is very much clear. So that's it then. If you have any doubts, please let me know in the chat section, and I'll try to clear your doubt as much as possible. If you have any problems related to anything, please let us know in the comment section. If you have missed this live session, please you can go ahead and watch the same live session properly in our playlist. We have DSA live session playlist. There you can go ahead and watch our same streamed video. We are gonna put this video, I'm gonna put this video into a playlist after the recording is done. After the stream is done, the whole recording will be put up into our playlist. Well, thank you so much guys for watching this live stream, and I hope so that I am able to make you understand all the concepts really well. That's all for this session guys. Thank you so much. If you have any doubts, please let me know. The rest of the other things, I will be seeing you again tomorrow live at the same time, 6 p.m. in the evening, where I will be explaining and starting with some particular data structure tomorrow. So tomorrow's class is a very important class. Do not miss that class. You will learn a lot. From tomorrow's class onwards, we are gonna start with DSA properly. Alright. So that's it for today's class guys. Thank you so much. This is Ashank David. I'll be signing off now. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow in the same live stream. Thank you so much guys. Bye bye.